voice of women in sport.
I'm not prepared to do it, but I'll do it anyway.
We're better at it.
Where would you be without them? Got your back through thick and thin. Friends who know what you've been through.
Hello and welcome to a brand new show, which is a wrap-up for the season. I'm Chris Stafford and I'm joined by Jenny Susser again because we decided, Jenny, to do what?
To lower the ladder.
Well, that's what we're calling this episode because it's the end of the year. We're looking back on 2019. And we thought we would do this, not talking about sports psychology like we normally do on The Mind Matters, which is now wrapped for this season. But this show is going out, we're recording it a little bit earlier, but it is going out at the end of the year to really review 2019 and what women's sport has done for women in general, you know, for wider society. There's been a lot of milestones, I think, this year, Jenny. And I like the idea of calling it this lowering the ladder because some of these leading sports women of this year are in American soccer. You were part of the US soccer team. They've called it lowering the ladder. It is passing the baton, or baton you call it here, or baton?
Yeah, baton.
Okay. All right, so we're going to try not to get too serious about this show, but we're going, because it is the end of the season, it's the holiday season, we're looking ahead to 2020, which is going to be a big Olympic year, there's going to be lots to talk about, but we wanted to have a show where we could just talk about other things, you know, beyond the world of women's sports, but because women's sports has played such an important role, as I said, in the wider society. So that's going to be our platform, and we're going to kick off. How are we going to kick off? I mean, this is totally impromptu. This is what I love about it. We're actually recording it face-to-face for a change.
So one of the things we were talking about offline was Megan Rapinoe. And how do you say Rapinoe? Rapinoe. Sorry. And her speech the other in mid-November when she accepted that award from Glamour. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And she gave kudos to Colin Kaepernick for really starting this movement with athletes. But she talked in her speech, she talked about that she, as someone who is now owning this platform, that the others who have a platform need to begin to share it. And that's when she said we need to lower ladders so that people can join us on this platform, so that more and more people can have a voice. This is what we need. This is what we need to create a culture change, you know. And so that's what really I think is inspiring us, is that in 2019, in terms of women's sport and progress, that, you know, the Women's World Cup and the platform that was created as a very, very powerful result has been, you know, culture, life, world changing.
Yeah, it has. And, you know, if you look back in history, the evolution of women's sports, and we know that Billie Jean King, of course, played an enormous role in kicking that ball into play. You know, let's just imagine she was on one side of the pitch, kicked the ball into play, and made sure it stayed in play. You know, the Women's Sports Foundation played a huge role.
Still
but
does,
let's not forget all the other women that have gone around that pitch. Metaphorically, I'm drawing a line around this football pitch right now.
She's being very animated with her hands, in case you can't see that through the podcast.
And they have helped to make sure we keep this ball in play. And now this year, we've seen new role models. We saw Abby, one back, of course, played for US Soccer, retired, and is using that platform outside of soccer to a large extent. Then along came Megan Rapinoe, of course, the star of the 2019 Women's World Cup, and Ali Krieger and her fiancé, I think it is, Ashlyn Harris, the goalie. Those two have joined in as well. They've been doing rounds this year. I mean, ever since the World Cup, they've been outside of the sport. I mean, they haven't played a lot of soccer, the two of them, but they've been sidelined with injuries. And they've been doing the rounds, you know, with glamour shoots, with media responsibilities. I mean, they really have been doing the rounds outside. And now, that to me, Jenny, I mean, there's a big takeaway there. At the end of the year, as we look back on the role that women have played, sports women have played, and been so inspirational. We use that word so often, don't we? But they have been so inspirational for young girls in sport, but beyond sport.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where the culture change comes in, is you think about all the young girls and the young women who are watching these powerful women command an audience, have a huge, important platform and use it powerfully and wisely and for the greater good. I sound like a commercial, but it's true. I think about Billie Jean King and everything that she's done. I think about all the different female athletes that I have watched over the years, the way that, we talked about Martina Navratilova. She transformed women's sport through the use of strength training.
Yes.
There weren't female professional athletes who had the type of muscle definition, strength, power, and then prowess as a direct result, and she was phenomenal and changed the way that female tennis players and then all female athletes trained. And then we look at now the social platforms for social change that are just so unbelievably important, and the way that they empower. We didn't have those growing up. I'm in my early 50s, and I didn't have female role models. I was a swimmer, so.
Well, look how often we use that word.
Yeah.
Look how we use that word, empowerment, women's empowerment. That's been the hashtag, hasn't it?
I guess, yeah. I hate to sound campy about it, but it's so unbelievably true. You think about that, like as a young athlete, who did you look up to?
Oh, I know. Well, of course, I come from equestrian sports, so, I had my heroes, and they were mostly women, that you aspired to be, when you were...
But that's rare. That's very rare.
Yeah, but I think we're lucky in equestrian sport we had so many. But then I also did track and field, and Lillian Board, who left us all too early, she was another great inspiration to middle distance runner in England, when I was, in tennis, and Martina was... Sure. And, I was playing a lot of different sports, and you did have those role models. But today, when you look at any sport, and I think the awareness of how, for young girls now, of with the increased media coverage and the role of social media, there's much more visibility of women in different sports. Everything from archery to rowing, which is what we cover here with sports. Everything from archery to wrestling, and I think now that expression, you can't be what you can't see. Now there's that much more visibility. You talk about empowerment. You talk about role models. And these are all great for young athletes and young girls who want to go into sports and see that they can do different sports.
Yep. And earn the same money and deserve to earn the same money.
Absolutely, yeah. And then beyond the sports, when you think about the visibility of some of these athletes who are out, running, walking the catwalk and doing the media rounds, and, they're doing so much for women, empowering women, not just professional women in sport. There's a lot of amateurs out there that watching these morning shows, and the talk shows, and watching these women and they're watching them on social media, and I think, how strong and powerful and empowering is that for sport, for the influence of women's sport?
Yeah, it is. I think about, we share equestrian sport, and equestrian sport is one of the few, if not only, sports where men and women compete on the Olympic stage equally.
One of few, and I always have to qualify this, because we've always said in the question, we are that's the only sport that men and women compete equally. It's actually not. There's sailing, there's taekwondo. There are actually
taekwondo. They compete equally.
There are a number of sports, sailing particularly, for medals. There are more. There's more equality, and then there's also more mixed gender teams too, which is something that's really emerged this year, and I think it really bodes well for a lot of sports. Swimming being one of them, although there was equal equality in terms of men and women in sailing, but they've been using these mixed gender teams, and other sports have too.
But I think that equestrian is different in that it's one of the. It might be the only sport where men and women compete against each other directly, individually.
Sailing
Sailing does too? Okay,
yeah.
wow.
So
but there's
that.
two.
But there are others, and now you're putting me on the spot here. I need to believe in myself, as your process is. I need to believe in myself. I need to rely on my memory. Okay.
Well, the point is that the platform that was created, that was really profoundly emphasized this year by the women's U.S. soccer team, and just the incredible turnout. They had more people watch that competition than the men's.
Yeah.
Right. And the argument has been for years, well, we can't pay women the same. They don't have the same draw. Well, phooey. Now we have more draw, right? And it's creating this culture, and it's creating this permission and this just demand with young female athletes, which is going to continue. I mean, it's just going to continue. It's going to continue to get better and better. And when young girls and young women have girls and women to watch compete, that just makes them better competitors. Yeah. Right. You can't, as I remember
empowering.
Playing. Yeah.
It makes it powerful too. I mean, it makes women's sports now is more powerful, I think, as a result of all this than it ever has been.
I agree. And I think it's fantastic. And I love it.
You agree with me? I know.
I know. I'm sort of a little wishy-washy about it.
The end of the year, it must be the seasonal mood. Jenny agrees with me. Go on.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Well, I was just thinking about that. Like I played basketball and soccer in high school and swam.
But did you beat the boys?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I could beat my coach in a suicide, and that made him quite angry every day.
Not messing with you, Jenny.
But we didn't have women's basketball to watch, right? So as young basketball players, the only thing we could watch was either men's college basketball or the NBA. Now, I can't dunk. I can't jump like that. I can't move like that, right? Because I have a different body. So how do I grow as a young athlete if I'm modeling something that's not possible or plausible? And I think that that's been very prohibitive over the years. And I think that with the exposure and the increase in media coverage of women athletes, I think that is one thing that we're not talking about. Like our young girls get to watch girls.
Yeah. Exactly. And there's more and more of them, and more sports. And I think that's really important. Women's soccer is such a high-profile sport, probably the highest profile in
and it's
certainly in this
fun
year.
to watch.
It's great fun. I'm totally hooked.
Yeah, it's fantastic to watch.
I'm just so hooked. I never thought I did, because I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but I went off soccer. I watched it as a young girl. My father and my brother played, and I watched it, went to the local team and stuff. And then I went way off it because of the hooliganism and the aggression in male sport, in male soccer.
And the drama.
And the drama.
The
queens.
drama. Oh, my goodness.
Right?
My nephew played soccer in high school and was a super fan. Follows soccer.
And the fouling.
And the fouling. And I tease him. I tease him all the time. Like we were watching, I was home for the holidays and we were watching a game together, and I'm like, he needs a tissue. He just got knocked out. He's going to cry. Oh, and now he's fine. Like the drama, the acting. Yeah, it's just, it ruffles his feathers. Right. But, the women play with a different.
Totally different. So now I've gone from I don't want anything to do with soccer because of the men. Now I am I stay up at night and I watch, and not
something
least
to
of all
be a
because,
fan of.
Yeah, I'm a fan of now. Yeah. I am a fan of. And I've really enjoyed it. And it's funny because I think if anybody knows me or knows, what I thought about soccer because of the men's game years ago, now I'm the one that's sitting in front of the TV, at the end of the day, very late watching. Not least of all because now I'm supporting, number one team in the world, and you get to know the players, you get invested in them, you follow them on social media, we talk about them on shows all over the time, all the time. Right across the net, we're always talking about women's soccer now. And, you're more invested. And I think that's another part of what women's soccer has done now because of the profile of these athletes. And we have it with Olympians every cycle, right?
Yes.
We have it with Olympians.
Definitely.
And then after the Olympics, after people have been sitting watching the Olympics for
16
weeks,
days.
right? And then afterwards, what happens? They go away and they forget,
fade,
right?
yeah.
They forget about them unless they follow them on social media or they're really invested in that sport. But for the most part, you've learned about athletes in other sports that you don't ordinarily follow, right, on a
Correct.
regular basis. So I think that's what's happened, with the women's soccer, is they've been able to continue that, maintain their profile outside of the sport, right, with their glamour shoots and, their media.
I saw a commercial with Katie Ledecky the other day, training. I'm embarrassed to admit I don't remember what the commercial was for because it was sort of a flash. I was walking past the television. Well, but I was like, there's Katie Ledecky.
Yeah.
And it was just fun, like all the different slices of watching her train. And she's an animal. She trains like a beast. So
yeah, I've talked to her, and
she's super impressive. So I saw that, and I was like, yeah, not just Michael Phelps,
yes,
but Katie Ledecky.
Ledecky,
So
yeah.
I thought that was tremendous.
Yeah, there's more and more of them. I think that becoming household names now, which is awesome. That's such a big year for I think the progress of women's sports.
Definitely.
And the other conversation, of course, that we've had more and more of is around the LGBTQ world. You and I both mature adult gay women, and we've been able to watch how those athletes who are from that section of of society, they have used that platform to advance those issues as well.
Yeah.
You have to think of the ones we've mentioned already. There's 3 women who 4 I can think of.
She's holding up 5 fingers, but
Yeah. She does that. But, they are talking, to come back to your point about using, as Megan Rapinoe says, to use the platform, as Abby Wambach has done outside of soccer now since she retired, using that platform. Okay, they're gay women, and
it's okay.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
And people have been following Megan and, in a way that they otherwise maybe wouldn't have.
I think that that part of social acceptance is a direct result of exposure.
Yeah.
I think that for some people to see a homosexual couple or display for the first time, it can be shocking. Right? If you've not seen it before. If you've not seen it before. And so with the multiple repeated regular exposure and coverage.
Drip, drip, drip.
Yeah. Then it becomes, it's less.
It becomes the norm.
Yeah, it becomes the norm. Yeah. So the more and more athletes that are out and proud, willing to talk about it, willing to be okay about it, then that creates more acceptance just by virtue of exposure, right? And then we've got a younger generation that's able to be more and more comfortable with their sexuality, and their spectrum is wider and less severe. I think that these upcoming generations are relating to sexuality and sexual orientation in a less rigid manner, which is going to create freedom for everybody.
Yeah, it's accessibility, visibility, of course, and it sends a message to the parents as well.
Yes.
Support. But okay, let's not get too serious here. It's the end of the season wrap up. But those are big takeaways, right, from the role of women's sport this 2019. So let's look back at the year, and let's get up close and personal now, Jen. All right. What have been some standout moments? What have been your big takeaways from this year?
In terms of sport and women?
Anything. Sport, life, love.
Well,
horses, dogs, cats.
How much time do we have? I really think that the women's soccer was huge for me. Growing up as a young, closeted athlete, there was no one to look up to. There was no Ellen when I was young. There was no Ellen. There was no Martina Navratilova. Right. Billie Jean King wasn't out then.
You are old, aren't you?
Yeah, hush. I'm 52, but I look good. So now...
I'm supposed to say, of course you do. Isn't that my cue? Sorry, I didn't read the notes.
But to have... like Megan Rapinoe, just her spirit being, so beautiful inside and out, and owning her power, and just having, like, following Abby Wambach, that amazing, authentic honesty, commitment, and putting the concern for the self aside, so that everybody else gets the opportunity to grow and that is in essence lowering the ladder. And I think it's so beautiful. The permission that it gives everyone, for me, I couldn't, it was amazing.
It is giving permission, isn't it? Yeah, I like that. It is giving permission. Lowering the ladder, giving everybody a leg up.
Yeah, which is what we need.
And that's what it's about, isn't it? It's giving, extending your hand and giving people
we are all in this together.
We are totally.
So the more we support each other, the better we become all the way around. And that was what I really felt as a result of the World Cup soccer.
Okay. On the field of play, whatever sport now, okay, standout moments.
Serious face.
Yeah, sorry, serious.
On the field of play, a standout moment. Was it this year or last year, Serena Williams and the U.S. Open?
Okay, U.S. Open.
Was that last year? That was 2018?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you can have that. Since this is the first time we've done this, you can.
Okay. So I think I'm a huge Williams sisters fan.
Are you?
I am. I really am, because so first of all, their age and their continued extraordinary dominance in the sport. Right? So that's comparable to Tom Brady. Really. I mean,
Tom who?
Yeah. And although I am not a Patriots fan, I am born and raised in Pittsburgh, so I'm a Steelers fan. So just by default, I hate the Patriots. But you look at somebody with that type of longevity in their career, and it doesn't matter what sport, what gender, the Williams sisters continue to dominate and elevate the sport. And do it from always being a leg down, right? Because they're African American, because it is a very white sport, or has been. They have shattered all of those barriers, and I felt like the raw intensity of Serena Williams and what she just was unable to hold back. Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's
said much more.
And we talk about emotion, and emotional investment in sport. Right?
That's, some looked at it as inappropriate. I looked at it as just raw vulnerability, and that we need to see this. We need to see that this is what people go through.
They wouldn't say that about men.
They would never say that about men. They would never, ever, ever say that about men. John McEnroe was never called, he was called inappropriate, but
yes,
it was never, based on vulnerability or whatever. It was he's having another tantrum.
Yeah.
For you?
For me, gosh, without a doubt, what the women's soccer team did. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, and Alex Morgan's moment there where she raises the teacup after she scored, I think, when she was playing against England. That was a magic moment. I thought that was just so poetic. And of course, I loved Megan's salute. It's like, yes. I mean, I mean, Muhammad Ali did this. Look, I am the greatest. And I think that was Megan saying, look, it's not just about me. Look at this team. And, it is all about, yes, she scored the goal, but, then you watch Rose Lavelle assist in a way. Then the other day, she's just, finding a gap for Carly Lloyd. And, she talk about, the team that, all of that team has just gelled so well together. And so a few standout moments from that World Cup. But beyond women's soccer and beyond these shores, I have to give a shout out to the Irish women's field hockey team, because they won the silver medal in the World Cup, but they have just qualified this year. At the end of the year, they qualified a couple of months ago for Tokyo Olympics. Nikki Daly, who has been, I don't know how many caps Nikki's got now. She's a WISP ambassador. She has been influential on that team for years now, and together that team has the kind of spirit that the U.S. women's soccer team has. Can do. We are not going to be defeated. And it went to a penalty shootout against Canada in that final qualifier back in Dublin in the fall. And that they came, you thought they were 3-1 down, and they came back and won that penalty shootout. Those little Irish girls, I tell you, they are made of something special. And, I wish them all the best for Tokyo. But that's the kind of team spirit. We've also seen that team spirit and camaraderie and effort and self-belief from what was formerly Team SCA in the Volvo Ocean Race a few years ago, 2014-15 edition, I think it was, when I first met the girls on a stopover in Rhode Island, and I got to know them, and I followed them again. They all went on separate boats, not all of them, but many of them went on separate boats for the next edition, was 2017-18. And now they developed what they call the Magenta Project, which is a project to literally lower the ladder, give a leg up to young girls coming into sailing, right? And they have done a tremendous amount of work in mentoring young girls and showing them that they too can be record-breaking, round-the-world sailors. You know, we had the first woman in Carolyn Brouwer, the Dutch sailor who was on Team Dongfang that won the 2017-2018 edition of the race, and now these women, record-breaking, she won a lot of awards because of that. You know, when I talk about, and I started at the top of the show talking about the people that are on the other side of the pitch while Billie Jean kicked the ball into play, right. These women are surrounded, there's more and more women surrounding this pitch now and making sure this ball stays in play.
Yeah,
so there's just a few of them
from all different sports, which is what makes it so extraordinary. I completely agree.
Got to keep talking because I'm drinking.
Yeah, I know she's drinking her coffee. I'm waiting for her to spit it all over me soon.
If you make me laugh, I will do. All right. Okay, it's the end of the year.
What's the end of the year.
Biggest takeaways?
I think our biggest takeaway is message. Keep the ball moving. Let's whether you get an actual touch on the ball yourself, or you send someone in from the sidelines, or whatever it is, we've just all got to be part of keeping that ball moving.
Yep.
So whatever way we do that, whoever we support, however we support them, we don't always know how that result will be, but I think if we all stay engaged and keep...
And let's give a shout out to the women coaches.
Yeah.
And the officials. You know, there's more women. If you watch women's soccer now, how many more women officials are?
Well, how about we have women coaches in the NFL and the NBA now?
Yep.
Right, and I'd love to give a shout out to Dr. Judith Holland, who was an associate athletic director.
You have a microphone.
Yeah, right.
You can do anything.
Listen, she was terrifying when I was at UCLA, and she was an associate athletic director, and she managed the women's side. They don't have an AD for the women's side technically, and they didn't back then. And she was the stand for women's sports at UCLA. So without Dr. Holland, UCLA would not have the type of women's athletic programs that we have today. She actually awarded the very first NCAA Division I scholarship. It was in basketball to Ann Myers. Mm-hmm. And then she proceeded to hire female coaches for women's programs, and she created the women's softball at UCLA, and they won 12 national championships. Billy Moore, the basketball coach, she hired Cindy Gallagher, the swim coach who was there for 31 seasons. She was... There
you go, giving a leg up, lowering the ladder.
Yeah.
Wherever you are in women's sports, and wherever you are in your career, make sure, whether you're just starting off in your career, both on the pitch or off the pitch as an official coach, whatever it may be, whatever your role in women's sports, our biggest takeaway here from Jenny and Chris at the end of 2019 is lower that ladder.
Lower the ladder.
Give other women a leg up, because, this is the next generation, and the next gen they do that. It's like, it's forever, isn't it? And we've made tremendous progress here in women's sports, Jenny.
Let's keep it going. The better we all are, the better we all are.
Yeah, raises the tide for everyone. Well, that's our message for the end of 2019, folks. And we're going to be back doing more of these kind of... We're trying to make them fun. We should tell some jokes or funny stories next time.
Says the Brit.
We do have a sense of humour. It's just a matter of whether the Americans appreciate it. We laugh at ourselves. All right, but seriously, we will be back after all the holidays are done and dusted, and we're going to be continuing a new series of The Mind Matters, where we do talk about serious things on sports psychology. You can check all of those past episodes at wispsports.com, and of course on any podcast app, just look for Wisp Sports. So good luck in 2020, Jenny.
Yeah, you as well. Great year end, and some great goals for 2020.
Big goals, because we've got Olympics coming up as well. But thanks for joining me on this show, and also, you know, for the Mind Matters, because that's been a tremendous addition to our roster here at All Sports. So you're part of the team. You've got the T-shirt now to go with
it. It's been great. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Fantastic. All right, we look forward to 2020. Don't forget to follow us on social media at
drjenny.com, Dr. Jenny R. Susser on Facebook, and at Dr. Jenny Susser on Twitter.
Okay, and at With Sports, as always, have a fantastic start to the new year, and we'll join you down the road. Thanks for listening.